Greetings to you and welcome to this episode of Grace Podcast. I'm Timothy Muse. I'll be your host as we spend this time together today. It's a joy to be with you. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to thank you for making this podcast a part of your journey. And as always, I want to thank you for being on the journey, for being part of this. Good for you for being here. Good for you for investing in yourself. Good for you for making this journey, this advancement, this investment in you. It is so powerful and vital to see people investing in themselves and showing energy to themselves and showing up for themselves and growing in themselves. Good for you for being here. Good for you for doing it. And thank you for allowing me to come alongside you. If this podcast is helpful, please share it out there. Put it out there in your social media feeds. I post on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. If you follow me or the podcasting on any one of those feeds, you're going to see these episodes. And if you want to reach out, and if you're on the one of the listening platforms, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or Amazon Music, then please follow us, give us a rating and review. And if you want to reach out to me directly, as I was going to say first, is you can reach out to me at GraceLifeCoaching.com. That's my website. That's got all my contact information. GraceLifeCoaching.com is where you can get a hold of me. I'd love to hear from you. If I can come alongside you, do some coaching, have some conversation, answer some questions, wherever you're at, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I truly would love to hear from you. GraceLifeCoaching.com. So I want to dig into something today. I want to talk about a topic that's touched nearly everyone recently, something that is really amped up in our world, and that's this issue of the political divide that we face. We are facing a massive amount of political division. Our political climate today is exhausting. Many people are exhausted by it. Many people are struggling with it. So I want to talk about how to cope with the mental strain created by the political division we see in America today. Now, I want to be clear about something. And I know, what's the two things you don't talk about in public? Politics and religion. Okay, I want to be clear about something here. This is in no way, shape, or form an episode that is looking you to choose sides. I'm not interested in helping you, guiding you choose sides. That is not what this is about. If you want to turn this off, you can think, oh, great, he's going to talk about politics, I'm turned off. Please don't, because this isn't about choosing sides. I'm not talking about sides. This is about how do we navigate this politically divided time? How do we navigate this time? How do we navigate moving through it? Okay? I'm not here to convince anyone who is right or wrong. It's about something much more personal. It's about protecting your peace, your relationships, and your emotional well-being while living in a world that often feels loud, angry, and divided. And that's really what we want to do, right? I mean, if you've ever felt anxious after scrolling through social media, or if you've dreaded family gatherings because politics might come up, or if you found yourself carrying tension you didn't even realize was there, you're not alone. You're not alone. This is what many people are feeling right now in the climate that we're living in. So that's what I want to talk about today. And the first thing we want to dig into is the reality that politics isn't just about policies anymore. There was a time when politics was about policies. For many people, it's become connected to identity, all right? When people feel that something important to them is threatened, the brain often reacts as though personal safety is at stake. That means conversations that should be discussions can quickly become emotional battles. Our nervous system often doesn't distinguish very well between a physical threat and an emotional one, okay? Your heart races, your muscles tighten, your breath change, stress hormones rise. Even sitting quietly reading headlines can produce a stress response. All right. Over time, repeated exposure leaves us emotionally exhausted. This is where a lot of people are at. This isn't weakness. It's simply how the human brain works. We've become so connected with our identity and our political stance that we're moving into this emotional exhaustion. Our nervous systems are on overload because identity and policy have become intermingled. And this is something that we need to kind of unpack a little bit. Again, and it's on all sides. It doesn't matter what side you're standing on. You're human. This is what people are facing. This is what is driving us in this highly divided climate. And it's pretty clear how we've gotten to this place. It's pretty clear how we've gotten to this moment. The 24-hour news cycle and the immediacy of information and the inundation of overwhelming information, it really has stripped us of our peace and our balance. I mean, if we think about how previous generations received their news, morning newspaper, evening television, then life continued. I mean, that's really what it was. The paper showed up in the morning, you read the paper, you watch the evening news, you get the weather, the sports, and the headlines, and life continued. That's where it was. You didn't have that. Well, today, breaking news happens every hour, every minute. All right. I mean, every time you open up your news app or your social media feeds, there's breaking news. There's something new. There's something else going on. There's opinion shows and podcasts and YouTube commentary and social media. There's friends reposting articles and families posting memes and videos and arguments and all of these things. There's comments and replies and notifications. There's almost no pause. There's no pause button. Okay, here's the thing. Our minds were never designed to process conflict 24 hours a day. I want to say that again because it's so important. Our minds were never designed to process conflict 24 hours a day. The result? Many people feel like they're living inside an endless emergency. An endless emergency, a state of emergency, a constant state of emergency. Okay, because what happens when you're in a constant state of emergency? When you're in a constant state of emergency, you need answers now. It's reactive. You're reacting. But here's the truth. Here's something that's really important. Most days, your actual life is much calmer than your news feeds. I mean, it really is. Your family is still there. Your neighbors still wave. The sun still rises. Life still continues. Sometimes our nervous system simply needs permission to reconnect to what is actually happening around us instead of what might happen somewhere else. We're so disconnected from the moment, from the here, from the now, from the casual reality we live in every day that our nervous system is just reacting over and over to this crisis, to this emergency. There's always an emergency. There's always a conflict. There's always something. And our brains were never wired to deal with that 24/7. We're not wired to deal with that 24/7. But that is the world we live in. That is the information soup that we marinate in every day. And this creates stress. Now, if you don't know, I mean, stress is stress, whether it's positive stress, negative stress, physical stress, financial stress, emotional stress. The body doesn't distinguish that different kind of stress. Stress is stress. And sometimes stress reveals itself in a very clear way. And sometimes it is something that is very subtle. And sometimes it doesn't even show up the way it looks, So political stress often disguises itself. It doesn't always announce itself by saying, hey, I'm anxious. Instead, it may sound like I can't stop checking the news. I keep replaying conversations. I get angry faster. I stop talking to certain people. I'm exhausted. I feel hopeless. I think one of the things that many people would articulate on both sides of the coin, if they really dug into it, is there's a deep sense of hopelessness. Hopeless that we're going to be able to figure this out. Hopeless that we're going to be able to find a right path. Hopeless that we're going to be able to work together. There's a deep sense of hopelessness, and it comes out, but it comes out in very different ways. Sometimes it's depression, sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's numbing. Okay, but I think there's a deep sense of hopelessness. And a lot of that hopelessness is coming from the stress that we're carrying from that which is being fed to us. Okay? Sometimes we carry political stress without realizing it. Sometimes we carry financial stress without realizing it. Sometimes we carry emotional stress without realizing it. Okay? So one of the things that we can do is make sure that we're very clear about our check-ins. And what am I feeling right now? Not what am I thinking, but what am I feeling? What's going on inside of me right now? When I'm scrolling, when I'm on my feeds, when I'm reading these things, what's going on inside of me right now? Anger, fear, frustration, sadness, disappointment? What am I feeling when I'm engaging in these things? What do I feel when I think about or read, about political issues? Or what do I think about, or what do I feel when I'm having these conversations? Naming emotions can reduce their intensity. Okay, giving a name to it. So being able to name it. What am I feeling right now in this? What am I feeling in the midst of this stress? Again, and it's really, really hard. It's really, really hard to not engage in some kind of political reality in our world right now. I mean, it really is. In conversation and family gatherings, it's so very loud at this point in time. And again, and I'm not saying it's not important. Please don't hear that. I'm not talking flippantly. And it's been loud for generations. Okay. I'm not putting a pin in any one administration or one view. It's been loud for generations. We've been dealing with this loudness for generations, but we need to allow ourselves to ask that question. What am I feeling right now in this? I mean, am I reading this, or am I listening to this speech, or I'm watching this and I'm feeling angry, or I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling disappointed? It's important to be able to name that, because if you can name it, you can begin to manage it. Again, and that's really what we're looking to do. We're looking to manage our lives. We're looking to have balance and peace and joy, and not live in this fear, this anger, this hopelessness, or this rage, or this sadness. We want to find balance in the midst of it. We want to find balance with our family and balance with our friends, which means that we can dwell with people who differ from us in their thought processes and see things differently. We're allowed to do that. We're allowed to differ from each other and still be in relationship. That should really be our goal. Even if we differ from someone else, we're allowed to be in relationship with them. We should be able to find a place of balance and hope in the midst of that. Okay? So one of the ways that we can do this, one of the simple practical things we can do, is we can separate information from overload. Being informed is healthy. It really, truly is. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're seeking information. Being informed is healthy. Being overwhelmed is not. Those are two different things. Many people believe staying informed means consuming everything. It doesn't. All right? It doesn't. Being informed is healthy. Being overwhelmed and overloaded is not. I mean, imagine drinking from a garden hose. Now, I know, I'm not advocating for drinking from a garden hose, but, growing up as a kid, we used to drink from a garden hose. You get thirsty, you turn the garden hose on, you let the hot water run out, and you drink from a garden hose. Imagine drinking from a garden hose. It's helpful, right? It's refreshing. Maybe it's necessary. Now imagine trying to drink from a fire hydrant. Same substance, but very different experience, isn't it? Yeah, that's the difference between being informed and being overwhelmed. All right, notice the difference in those two things. News works the same way. Healthy information comes in manageable amounts. Information overload simply floods the nervous system. So considering asking yourself when you're dealing with the consumption of information, do I need more information in this, or do I need more peace? Do I need to gather more facts and information, or do I need more peace? Do I need to step away from that? Do I have enough information that I can step away from it and I can start to find some peace? I can take a walk. I mean, I could watch the news cycle and I could watch the return of the stories I've watched 3 or 4 times, or I can turn off the news cycle and go for a walk. I have the information. I can process it. See, and the other thing about overload is when we're overloaded with information, we don't have the chance to process it. We don't have the chance to really kind of take it in and say, well, I mean, do I really think that? Do I agree with that? Or are there things I agree with, things that I don't? And it's okay. We're all allowed to do that. But when we are overloaded, when we are flooded with information all the time, we don't have the chance to process it and really take it in and figure out whether this is something that I think, that I believe, that I agree with. Where can I put this? How is this going to affect my life? When we're just inundated with information over and over and over, we never get a chance to stop and process it. Okay, so being informed is healthy. Being overwhelmed with information is not. And we want to make sure, as we are finding balance and seeking peace, that we allow that information to be processed and not just continue to inundate into our lives over and over and over, which means you are allowed to take a break. Oh my, I know that's pretty radical, but you are allowed to take a break. One of the healthiest decisions you can make is giving yourself permission to step away. You do not need to read every article. You do not need to watch every debate. You do not need to respond to every comment or prove your opinion to everyone. And look, rest is not avoidance. Don't hear me saying that you're allowed to avoid. No, you are allowed to take a break. Sometimes rest is wisdom, all right? The world will continue turning whether you take care of your mental health or not. So take care of your mental health, because the world's going to continue to turn while you're doing it. Take care of your mental health. Take care of you. Take that break. Be intentional enough to say, you know what? I've gotten enough information about this. I can take a break now. I can stop ingesting and I can start to process and get rid of what I don't agree with or deal with what I'm seeing or deal with what I'm. You are allowed to take a break. It is okay. Are you hearing me now? It is okay. You are allowed to take a break and step away for a minute. Because when we don't do that, when we don't take a break, when we don't process and ingest and find peace, there are casualties. And we've seen a lot of casualties to the political division. And one of the primary casualties is relationships in families and friendships and neighbors and coworkers. You know, many people have just quietly drifted apart. You know, they believe one thing and I believe another, and that's what drives them, and this is what drives me. So I just don't want to be in their presence. I don't want to call them out, but I just don't want to be around them. You know, I don't want to be around that. I don't want to be around that energy. I don't want to be around that, whatever that is. But here's something worth remembering. People are always more complex than their political opinions. They're always more complex than the sports teams they root for. They're always more complex than the food channels that they watch. They're always more complex than any one thing. No one can be reduced to any one thing, to a single vote, to a single opinion, to a single action. No one can be reduced to one single thing, okay? Not a single headline, not a single social media post. When we begin seeing people only through labels, whether it's political or sports or gender, when we begin to see people through labels, you stop seeing the rest of who they are. The parents and the veterans and the teachers and the volunteers and the grieving spouse and the person caring for aging parents and the young adult trying to build a life. Everyone carries a story. And that story is far deeper and far more complex than just that one single thing. And when we can listen to their stories, when we can lean into their stories, we start to have some empathy, because stories create empathy. Labels create distance. So as we step back and start to process through and start to find some balance and peace within it, we want to make sure that we don't allow our relationships to become casualties of that single thing. I know it's hard. It really, truly is sometimes, because some relationships are just loud. But when we can look beyond just the loudness and see the story, we can start to create some empathy and maybe maintain some relationships that are really struggling right now. Okay. And one of the ways you can do that is, practice curious listening. When someone says something, instead of, preparing a response, which many people do, many people listen to prepare a response. They wait for that word or that idea, and then they just look to respond, lash out, correct. Maybe become interested. Start asking questions like, what experiences led you to feel that way? Or what matters most to you about this issue? Notice these questions don't require agreement. They simply create understanding. Sometimes people don't need someone to agree. They simply need someone willing to listen respectfully. And that's one of the things that we're really struggling with, is listening respectfully to each other and to ourselves. Because look, listening isn't surrender. It's emotional maturity. I can listen to you and I can hear what you have to say. I may completely and utterly disagree, but I can still listen to you in hopes that you're going to listen to me. That's where maturity comes in. I can listen to you in hopes that you're going to listen to me. All right? So it's really important, to kind of practice that curious listening. What is going on? What's driving this? I hear it, but what's driving you to hear it? Here's something to remember, and that's to focus on what you can control. Energy follows attention. If all your attention goes towards things outside your control, your anxiety grows. And so does your fear and your sadness and your disappointment. Instead, ask yourself, what is actually mine to influence today? What is mine to influence today? My attitude, my words, my reactions, my kindness, my choices, my family, my health, my community. Focus on what you can influence, and that will bring peace back into your day. Give that your primary focus. What you can influence, get your primary focus, you're going to find balance. Are there going to be things out there that you can't and you're going to have to deal with? Yes, of course. But when we give our primary influence to what we can, when we give our primary focus to what we can influence, that will bring peace. Okay? Because we want to make sure that we protect and deal with what we can influence. All right? And our mental health is just as important as anything else. Our emotional health is like our physical health. You know, after exercise, your body recovers. After emotional stress, your mind also needs recovery. And you can help that recovery. You can help it by investing in it, by, taking a walk or reading or music or exercise or gardening or time with friends or silence or what have you. But, it's important to protect your emotional health. And dealing with social media platforms reward emotion. We've talked about this before. The stronger the reaction, the longer people stay engaged. That means outrage often spreads faster than calm conversation. Before opening social media, ask yourself, what do I hope to gain from this? Because in a lot of the political outrage and a lot of political division, you're going to find it on the social media platforms. What do I hope to gain from this? Connection, information, entertainment, or am I simply reading for my phone, or am I simply reaching for my phone out of habit? Awareness creates healthier choices. Okay? So let me give you, 5 daily habits to protect your peace. Let me give you something to hold on to here, okay? First, limit political news to 1 or 2 scheduled times per day. All right? Limit your time. Limit your time. I would say limit your social media to 1 or 2 scheduled times a day. But if political news really drives you, then limit it. Second, spend more time talking with real people than arguing with strangers online. Third, move your body every day. Stress lives in the body. Movement helps release it. Fourth, notice beauty. A sunrise, a sunset, flowers, birds, music, children laughing. Beauty reminds the nervous system that goodness still exists. And fifth, end every day with gratitude. Ask yourself, what went well today? What kindness did I experience? Where did I find hope? Gratitude doesn't deny problems. It simply refuses to let problems become the entire story. All right? So as we deal with political divisions, as we figure out ways to deal with it and find peace and balance. And again, I'm not asking you to choose sides. I'm not telling you what sides to choose. That's not what I'm here for. Just remember this. Every person you meet carries a multitude of things. They carry hopes and fears and dreams and regrets and pains and love. And most people want safety. They want meaning. They want purpose and connection. We often have far more in common than we realize. Remembering that doesn't erase disagreements. It simply restores perspective. Okay? It simply restores perspective. All right? So I want to leave you with a few questions. You don't need to answer them now. Simply carry them with you. What conversations give you life? Which ones drain you? What do you need for healthier boundaries? What relationships matter more than winning an argument? What would peace look like in your daily routine? How could you become a calming presence instead of another source of conflict? Sometimes changing the world begins with changing the emotional atmosphere around us. And that's where it's at. So as we deal with this, remember, yes, we are divided. Yes, there's a lot of energy and emotion and loudness, but we are all humans and we're all learning and yearning for something. You don't have to carry the entire weight of the nation on your shoulders. You are one human living one day, having one conversation at a time, making one decision after another. Small acts of kindness still matter, my friends. Listening still matters. Compassion still matters. Taking care of your mental health still matters. Peace doesn't come from pretending problems don't exist. Peace comes from learning how to remain grounded while facing them. And that's something every one of us can practice. It is. So that's what I got for you for today, my friends. I hope it's helpful. I really do. If it is, please share it out there. Put it out there in your social media feeds. If you're on one of the listening platforms, then follow us, give us a rating and review. If you want to reach out to me directly, GraceLifeCoaching.com is the website. I would love to hear from you. At Grace Life Coaching, we want you to be the best you.